What does one say to an ancient Nephilim ghost?
I suppose you start with...
You've got a real attitude problem, McFly. You're a slacker.
Hello, my friend. Stay a while and listen.
What's going on YouTube? It's Filthy and we're back with another Diablo 3 Season 34 build-up video. This is going to be a Demon Hunter starter guide. Season 34 is a repeat of Season 27, which was called The Light's Calling. What we're going to do is we're going to talk about taking a level 1 character all the way to the end game, so the full Altar of Rites unlocked, into an insane XP solo farm build that will probably be crushing 120, 130, something like that. So complete 0 to hero. And we're going to focus on this as if we were just going to play a Demon Hunter. So this is not going to be using a Necromancer to complete the season journey and open the Hadrig's bags. That's going to be a different guide. I would highly recommend making a Necro, leveling it to 70, beating the season journey. Should take about 2 or 3 hours. As I say, we'll do another kind of like video on that. But some people I do know want to play Demon Hunter the whole way, or maybe they want to swap onto the Demon Hunter at level 18 and kind of do their season journey that way. So this is going to be a Demon Hunter kind of focused video. I will try and put some timestamps in the description. Importantly, I will link this Google document, make a copy, edit it. If you want to put any more notes on it, that is absolutely fine. I put video links in description, but to be honest, they're going to be quite out of date now because this season happened a long time ago and I'm going to redo the guides on season. But as always guys, it like cheers me up and brightens my day considerably. So the starting set for the Demon Hunter, once you complete your season journey, is the Gears of Dreadlands, the Spin to Win set. The Spin to Win is going to be a really big part of Season 34 theme because we're going to be using a Sanctified item that's going to make pretty much every Demon Hunter build a little bit like the Gears of Dreadlands. Great news for God Demon Hunter is it is one of the easiest builds in the entire game to set up. It is very cheap to make. It will crush Torment 16 almost immediately, but all you need is the pieces. Supporting items, you'll be T16 viable, you'll be able to do GR 100s, 110s, absolutely no problem. We're not going to play Gears of Dreadlands much next season, but as a starting set it is absolutely fantastic. You could use it to fully unlock the altar, complete season journey, no problem whatsoever. Very, very fast progression, but at the bottom here I've put this bad with the season theme because the 3 Sanctified power options don't really work with it. So the season theme, which is the Angelic Crucibles, nothing changes for leveling. The Angelic Crucibles will not drop until you get your character to 70. What happens when you upgrade an item using an Angelic Crucible, and you can do this on any item, doesn't have to be a weapon, can be any. It turns it into primal, so it re-rolls all the stats, perfect, and it adds one of 3 Sanctified powers. Every class has got 3 powers. You can only equip 1 Sanctified power per character. Of course, in the game now we have Craft Your Own Primal. That will not interact with this, I don't think, so you should be able to. We can't test obviously, but I think you'll be able to have a crafted primal and a Sanctified item at the same time, which is going to be pretty good. If you salvage Sanctified items, you do get some cool stuff out of them. Bounty mats, DBs, blood shards. Drop rate of a Sanctified item, well, I suppose an Angelic Crucible really, that makes a Sanctified item, is roughly about 5 times that of a socket gift. So they're going to be fairly common, but not like completely ubiquitous. You're not going to be finding loads and loads of them, but you will find enough to make your build. Now realistically, with there only being 3 options, it's not like the soul shards where you've got to really layers upon layers of RNG to get the right thing. And this is going to be a very strong season theme because we're getting a lot of power out of certain Sanctified items. Leveling, nothing is new because obviously they don't drop until 70, and if you've been away for a little bit, Altar of Rites is now in the game permanently. Double kill streaks on node 1, items have no level requirement on node 2. I will link the Altar of Rites for you if you want to have a little look. Now, node 2 is of course extremely powerful. All you need is a flawless diamond, 15 arcane dust and 20 reusable parts. And then no level requirement is on any item in the game. So therefore, if you can train up Hadrig, he can give you level 70 stuff and you can absolutely crush the content on like Torment 3, Torment 6, Torment 1, whatever it is that you are up to, which obviously is fantastic. So big question always in the season is, should you use your challenge rift bag for leveling or should you save it for the altar? Now, I've said it takes about 2 or 3 hours to get to a full 6-piece suit. That is, of course, with using that necromancer trick that I talked about at the start of the video. So personally, I think if you've got the necro pack, if you're willing to do that, then I would probably be saving the bag. Really, the question I'd say to you is, are you going to play 10 hours worth of Diablo 3 before Tuesday? If you are, I would save the challenge rift bag because you'll get stuck about halfway on the altar. And if you're going to play more than 10 hours across Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, then I would save it, because ultimately you're going to get stuck on the altar, and that's what I'd do. Now, it is fun to level fast, and I do appreciate that some people just want to open the challenge rift bag and blast to 70 super fast. So that's kind of what we're going to cover next. Now, regardless, I guess, of whether you use it or not, the whole key to this process is diamonds at level 18, because you can combine 2 diamonds into a flawless diamond and open up that altar of right node 2. This is why I've put consider necro switching. So even if you do want to play the Demon Hunter, getting to level 18 is much faster on necro. You could maybe even do your Torment 1 set of bounties on the necro and then swap to the Demon Hunter. Once you've got your 2 diamonds, you can then make your level 1 Demon Hunter. You'll be at level 18 in no time, because you'll be able to put the game on Torment 6 with your crafted level 70 items. Now, obviously, if you're using a challenge rift bag, getting to 70 might only take you about 30 minutes, because obviously you can completely kit your character out with like full 70 gear, so Torment 6 the whole way, and yeah, if you get some good RNG, you can do it very fast. Obviously, you'll be able to get your multipliers as normal if you're using your challenge rift bag, be able to upgrade your legendary as normal, but you will be stuck at level 15 until the challenge rift resets the Tuesday of the season. So this is where you would get to on the altar. So you could have all of these things here on this left hand side. You would get stuck here on challenge rift cache. So you can unlock quite a few things before you get stuck. I like to get the double primals as quickly as possible, because one of the things that brings me a lot of joy playing this game is seeing that red beam drop, and getting 2 of them is always tasty. Now, if you do save the challenge rift bag, of course, you still go for diamonds at level 18. But it's going to take you a bit longer to get things sorted, because you're going to have to kill streak bonus up to 18. After 18, you're still going to have to kill streak bonus. You're not going to be kitted out with full level 70 stuff. You still can get it, but ultimately it's going to be harder, because training Hadrig requires that dash breath. You're not going to have that unless you've done a Torment 1 set of bounties. It requires quite a lot of gold, which you're not going to have, again, unless you've done those Torment 1 bounties. And you're also going to be really starving for materials. So you might have to start with like a level 50 weapon or a level 60 and then go from there. Now, max altar, I used to say it was about 24 hours game time. I think it's a lot less than that now. It is RNG heavy, because we've got the Staff of Herding. They have buffed, I think it's the Gibbering Gemstone was the real problem. That was what created the kind of like bottleneck, no pun intended, with Liquid Rainbow and stuff like that. But it's quite easy now to put it together. So I think maybe it's probably less than that, but it used to be that back in the day. Ancient Hellfire, you can get a bit stuck on that. You just have to farm the Ubers over and over again. Puzzle Ring will be pretty easy this season, Ancient Puzzle Ring, because you could always sanctify a Puzzle Ring, and then you could slap it, presumably, into the altar as an ancient one. Again, I can't confirm that works until we get onto the season, but I would imagine the game would accept a sanctified puzzle ring as an ancient one, and then you wouldn't be stuck on that particular one. Maybe 8 or 9 hours till you hit level 15 altar game time, and that's why I kind of say if you're going to play like 10 hours or more, I'd be saving your challenge bag personally. So, should you save, should you use? Fun is always the main part in video games. If you really want to blast leveling and it annoys you, then use it. I think if you're going to stick on the Demon Hunter completely, I'd say that's more of an argument to actually using the challenge rift bag, because leveling a Demon Hunter is going to be slower than doing the Necro. If you do use it, you can of course pre-farm the requirements for the next few unlocks, so that once the challenge rift resets, you can just knock them out real quick. And ultimately, if you're going to want to be as strong as possible, you're going to play tons over the weekend, do save it. I think 90% of people should probably save it. Season, of course, starts on Friday, 31st of Jan. Challenge Rift will be resetting tomorrow on the 27th. So I've put 26th, which is today's date, because I'm a bit of a potato. But ultimately, don't do your Challenge Rift this week, because you're going to need the bag either way. Once the season is live, create or rebirth your character, log into the season, beat the Challenge Rift. I'll do a guide hopefully on Tuesday about it. If I don't, Captain Honor Seeker also makes Challenge Rift guides these days, so go show him some love. Put your pats on, put your cosmetics on, and then maybe you're going to go and beat the Challenge Rift. And if we are using a goodie bag, well, as we say, we can get tons of materials to craft stuff. Craft level 70 stuff's the most important, and we've also got the DBs to train Hadrig, and we can upgrade something in the cube as well, which is pretty nice. Gold for buying vendor gear very, very early, gold for doing whatever we want, and we also of course get the 475 blood shards. When we come into the game, take the follower's weapon, take off his shield from the Templar. You want to take the scoundrel's stuff as well. Obviously you want to probably use the scoundrel stuff as the DH. You want to salvage what you're not using, unlock node 1 of the altar. Maybe if you've used the Challenge Rift bag, buy some life per second gear from the vendor. Go do a boss bounty. This is quite important as a demon hunter because Magda Cool on like a lower-ish difficulty will be fairly easy for you to defeat. The chest inside will contain items. Items are going to be much more in dire need on the demon hunter because it just does raw, a lot less raw damage than the necro. Magic Rock is going to be an early step if you're starting the season on time in Asia or EU, because the event will finish at, I think, 4 o'clock US time, which is when the season launches. It's hard coded into the game. They can't do anything about it, so you can go down to the Tristram event, level 5, you've got an 82-83% chance of getting your diamonds there. I'm certainly going to be using this on EU because I do think it is the fastest way to have a really high chance of getting them, and obviously those diamonds really are the key to unlocking the whole leveling process and getting like the higher level weapons, like level 50 weapon, level 20 character. It's just going to be pretty good. Early on you probably want to get the cube as well. This is kind of why the Necro switch is meta, because you can go to get the cube, Act 3, Runes of Sescheron, and then get to 18, find diamonds, swap onto the Demon Hunter. Cube's going to be quite important because once you've got your overpowered weapon, you probably want to jump into Visions of Enmity so that you can pick up white items, salvage them for lots of materials, do the converting into cube. You can find Greater Rift keys in there, you can find Death's Breath, you can find legendary items. So I would try and mix in some Vision of Enmity runs because you're going to need as many materials to craft as much stuff on your Demon Hunter. Less important if you're using a Challenge Rift bag because you will be fully kitted out, but if you're not, if you're kind of like building your DH as you're going, dropping into those whilst you've got higher weapons than your character, means you should be able to beat them. Obviously we can train Hadrig and the Mystic as well. Now, one of the things that we can do is that we can upgrade a dagger. So we can get our level 70 dagger, upgrade it if we use the Challenge Rift bag. You can do the upgrade anyway if you collect 25 DBs. The reason you go for dagger is it's a guaranteed multiplier. Carle's point buffs up Impale. We will be using that later with the Shadow build. Lord Greenstone's fan buffs up Fan Nice, quite decent for leveling. Neither go with the Gears of Dreadlands set, so you could always decide to go for something else like a bow and look to try and hit Yang's recurve possibly. Spending your blood shards, so this is applicable for the 475 out of your Challenge Rift bag. It's also applicable if you hit a blood shard goblin. You can always make a level 1 character and come back and do these shards. Raps of Clarity, 50% damage reduction is pretty nice. That's going to be something you're probably going to want at 70 anyway, so you can always again make a level 1 Demon Hunter. If you happen to be at level 34 and have blood shards to spend, go for Quiver. The 9th series satchel, which is the one that pairs with Gears of Dreadland, is in the loot pool from 34. Sadly, it's one of 7 options, so your chances of finding it are pretty limited, but it can be a good idea to have a little go and see if you can get it. Leoric's Crown is a decent option to try and pick up for the extra XP. Again, obviously playing the game at the higher tournament levels is probably the most important thing, but secondary would be getting XP from a Leoric's Crown. Pox Folds can help you mask a bonus. Again, if you've got lots of weapons and items that are above 70, then again, they probably aren't needed. So I tend to save my shards until 70, but ultimately if you're going to spend them, probably braces early doors. Now the level 70 items, this is the main thing. We need to get these on the character so that we can crush stuff. I've put start with 60. You might even start with 40 or 50, again depending on how tight you are with resources. But the reason these are good is because they'll have main stat, which is dexterity, which is like a multiplicative damage for you. They'll have vitality, which will allow you to play up in higher difficulties. You want to re-roll things rather than recraft. Crafting things is expensive, and as I say, we're trying to tread that line between how much can we craft, and if you get something like a weapon and it doesn't have dexterity on it, don't craft another one. If it's level 70, just try and roll it, and I'm sure dexterity will pop out within a couple. Now, depending on how many materials you have, whether you've used the Challenger's bag, how lucky you've got in your visions, the quicker you can put multiple level 70 items on, the better, and you could be cruising on anywhere from Torment 1 to Torment 6, depending on what drops. Now, I would consider Sage's set, and again, if you're not using the Challenger's bag, Visions of Enmity grant bounty materials. They will grant you the stuff you need to make the Sages. Again, you won't be able to make it immediately, but if you gear towards it, you can get double DBs. That's really, really useful because obviously we'll use the Death's Breath to convert materials into cubes. If you pick up all the white items, salvage them, you get a lot of reusable parts. If you get more than 100 with a Death's Breath, you can convert them into veiled crystals, arcane dust, whatever it is that you need. So double DBs is going to be quite useful to you. Now, you can still do all this if you're not using the Challenger's bag. Doing a Torment 1 set of bounties in Act 2 on the Demon Hunter is going to be rough. You would definitely want to try and snapshot this, walk around the area, kind of codes the enemies at level 1. I think it would be too hard. I personally would just think this is a recipe for disaster, but if you really want that Death's Breath, then it would be kind of what you'd have to do. You might get stuck in some part of it. I think the best way to get the Death's Breath probably is just to play the game, train Hadrig as much as you can, and then once you've got like a fairly OP weapon, so whether that's a level 50 weapon on a 20 character or something like that, jump into the vision. Fingers crossed you get good luck and you do get your Death's Breath that will allow you to train Hadrig to max. Again, you're going to need gold. Torment 1 bounties, really, really good for gold, so you're just going to have to do your best. Leveling areas, Halls of Agony, quite easy. It's nice to chain enemies together. They're very slow moving and not very dangerous. Fields of Misery is decent areas where I can get a big kill streak there, but the enemies are much tougher and the spear chuckers will hurt. Temple of the Firstborn is generally where I go, unless I start getting bored, I might swap area. But in the temple, in Act 2, there is lots of small little crappy enemies, quite easy to defeat them, and this one might spawn those visions that we're looking for. You can sometimes get Runes of Sescheron, Cursed Chest events, so again, not a terrible idea. You can't really use Rifts if you're on PC, but you can on console, because Mask of Bonusing does work in Rifts for console players. Leveling tips, get to 18 as soon as possible to unlock this second node of the altar. Of course, it is the key to everything. Combine the diamonds to make the flawless, red gem in your helm for extra XP. If you have a socket on your weapon, you may as well chuck in a ruby for the extra damage. And then you want to buy rings with plus damage and probably wait till about 61 for those and just buy them from a vendor. Cursed Chest tips, so this is for like the temple runs. I'd look at the full zone because there are resplendent chests in there, especially if you're not using the Challenger's bag. Material's going to be tight, you might find something useful in there. Range skills on the DH make it, I guess, kind of easy to do the Mask of Bonus leveling. AoE skills make it easy. Chakram and Twin Chakram are pretty much going to be what you're going to want to use as the DH. And if you do ever get stuck and you need some gear, boss bounties with those chests is a decent way to get a few items for yourself. Now, what skills you're going to use will depend on whether you've used the Challenger's bag, whether you've upgraded, what you've got, what drops. Chakram, as I said earlier, has got this great AoE. You can use Vault for a bit of mobility and speed. And then Fan of Knives can be quite decent, and you can remove the cooldown on that again, obviously, if you've got the Lord Greenstone Fan. Now, once we've got to 70, we're going to start doing the season journey, and we're going to start to get the gears of Dreadlands. Now, the 2-piece actually has some damage on it, so you do the first part of the season journey, you get the 2 pieces. So gain 4 seconds of momentum when you attack with a primary skill. Maximum duration 20 seconds. Primary skill deal 10% per second of momentum. It's 200%. It's not amazing, honestly, but it's okay. And it is at least damage on the 2-piece. 4-piece, strafing against enemies will automatically fire out your last primary skill, so we can start to spin to win from the 4-piece. 60% damage reduction is decent. 8% move speed for every momentum stack, so that's like 160%, so that's kind of nice. So the 2 and 4 are okay. Your GR20 shouldn't be much of a problem with Gears of Dreadland, obviously if we're not doing the Necro. Now the 6-piece has been buffed since I made this slideshow for like season 28 maybe. The modifier on it is 27,500 and it's absolutely slaps, so once you've got 6 pieces of that, you're going to be pretty good. Now, at 70, you can craft yourself Sages if you haven't already done so. Stat boost, double DBs, pass on to the follower once you've outgrown it. Obviously, do the season journey to get this 6-piece Gears of Dreadlands. Work on your altered progression. And as I said earlier, you can make it a level 1 Demon Hunter and roll shards for Wraps of Clarity and stuff like that. In terms of upgrades, so this is upgrading items in the cube. We're still going to try and put Gears of Dreadlands together because that's going to be our gateway into our endgame build. So what we need is a 9th series satchel, so we can roll shards, but upgrades will be useful as well though on quivers. Hunter's Wrath belt is very important. I'd start with the belt, I think. I'd be looking to upgrade that, but series satchel, again, they're both kind of important, so that's why I've highlighted both of those in gold. Depth Digger's less important, they're a pair of trousers, but ultimately they're the main 3 things. You don't need any weapons for Gears of Dreadland. Dawn helps, Yang's Recurves helps, Fortress Ballista can help, Valor's Bequest can help. These are like one-handed crossbows, two-handed crossbows, sorry, two-handed bow, not crossbow. But ultimately, if you get these 3 things with the Gears of Dreadlands, you're going to really crush stuff very, very early on. Rings, amulets are also good to upgrade. Convention of Elements, Stone of Jordan, Focus and Restraint is going to be a big one for this next season. Squirt's Necklace for double damage is going to be really good. The one-handed crossbow Dawn for the Vengeance cooldown reduction is going to be nice. Fortress Ballista, shielding is decent for the Gears of Dreadlands. And then the Yang's, which is the two-handed bow, resource cost reduction, Torment 16, and bounties. Blood shards, again, we're going for the modifiers, so series satchel first with the shards, just because it's easier to hit a satchel than it is a belt. Hunter's Wrath belt, again, that's where I'm moving with my shards after I've got the series satchel, and then I'm moving on to depth diggers if I haven't found those already, and then after that I'm going to probably look for some rings. Again, focus and restraint, getting a puzzle ring early, again, also kind of helpful. Shopping list of stuff once you've got your 6-piece. Crimsons and Guardians. We're going to use Guardians early on. We want those plans. You have to do some bounties for that. You want to do those, of course, on Torment 16. You're looking for UE and Shadow pieces, not Sado pieces, because Torment 16 is going to be an absolute joke with the Sanctified power. Ring of Royal Grandeur we're going to need so that we can wear the Guardians and only do 5 pieces of UE, Gears of Dreadland, Shadow. Legendary gems we need, Bane of the Trapped, Bane of the Powerful, we can do the Zaya Stone of Vengeance, Boon of the Hoarder, lots of legendary gems that are useful. Gold Wrap, really handy for Torment 16 farming, and then Shadow or UE pieces I think are going to be really what I want. And then of course we want a Sanctified item, which is going to be the season theme. So a budget Gears of Dreadlands Demon Hunter would look something a little bit like this. It would have the Rogue. I guess if you don't have the Rogue, then Hunter's Wrath goes on the character, Gears of Dreadland's trousers come on, and then maybe Wraps of Clarity to do toughness in the cube. Obviously, Wraps of Clarity, Lure Pool level 1, extractable, no problemo. Series Satchel, Hunter's Wrath belt somewhere, any amulet doesn't really matter. Simplicity Strength is the other legendary gem, which is very, very powerful because it's like primary skill, juicy. Yang's Recurve is very nice for just doing Torment 16 and bounties, so I'd be quite happy, I guess, getting one of those. Focus and Restraint is what you want, but at the moment, early on, just pick anything, and you should be absolutely fine. Now, in terms of Sanctified items, we want the Strafe power, so 2 of the powers are completely useless to us, not useless to us as a Demon Hunter, but we want the Strafe power. And this is not for the Gears of Dreadland, this is for moving on later, so You can upgrade a weapon, and I probably would do that first because you want that primal weapon, you want the max damage output, but you can craft yourself a primal as well. A good way to kind of use it is on the Mantle of Channeling, because you're going to use that in your UE build, you're going to use it in your Shadow build. What it will do is it will cast the last non-channeled Hatred Spender. So it basically turns other builds into the Gears of Dreadlands. Now the Impale version of this, so the Shadow Impale, on season, in season 27, we were doing 120 in like 2-3 minutes with 1100 Paragon. Alright, now since season 27, we've had Shadow be buffed so that it's almost twice as good. So that should really take us up to 125. Then we also did not have the Altar of Rites in this season, so that's going to be another like 3 to 5 tiers possibly. So I'm thinking that 130 is possibly quite doable with a fairly budget character of like 1200 Paragon. Once you start adding more and more Paragon, I think you could be getting upwards of 135 speeds. That's pretty nuts. And that's going to give some absolutely crazy Paragon. I hate to think what this is going to do in groups, because of course with the support characters, Paragon just absolutely crushes. So speed 140s, like speed 150s will be pretty quickly achieved in 4-player meta. I'm not sure whether it will be Demon Hunters, but I think early on it's going to be very, very strong. So budget Shadow build, or not the budget, the kind of, this is what I'm planning to set up basically. So I'd be looking for Guardians on my belts and braces to give me like this extra damage and toughness. I'd probably be sanctifying a Carly's points if I don't have a primal one, or a Mantle of Channeling shoulders. Dagger that we need for Impale, Holy Point shot we need for the Impale, Focus Restraint, Squirt, and Dawn, Raps of Clarity, and then a Rogue. And this is going to slap. It's going to absolutely crush stuff, and I really be keen to see what it could do with like 2,500-3,000 Paragon, possibly even more. So it's going to be a really fun time. So that's it, guys. I would go Gears of Dreadlands into the Shadow and UE probably for T16, but again I'll make some videos on the season about that. I would implore you again, please make a Necromancer and get your 6-piece Gears of Dreadlands. That way you will save yourself probably an hour or 2 possibly, depending on your RNG. But other than that, have fun on the season, guys. I've been Filthy Casual. Take it easy. Peace.